Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to Begin My Guest. Today from Providence, Rhode Island, we have Tonya Maselli with us, and she is an author, also a licensed social worker. Her book, how timely, Disruptors of Harmony. And in her book, she's going to tell you about it today, about how we can cope with everything from stress to terror, you name it. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you for having me.
On the back, it says it's a self-help guide that provides easy steps toward a stress-free life. Yes, it engages the audience in understanding what may cause disruptions in harmony and helps you, the reader, realize that no one is exempt from life's struggles. Boy, do I like that. So, when did you decide to write this?
This has been a work in progress for some years. It started off as some journal writings from my own personal stressors in life.
Yeah.
And I have a private practice where I see clients, and at times we would discuss stress, individuals in their stressors. And then I just started to put more and more together and had some different chapters and felt like maybe other people could benefit from looking at it just as well as
Big
myself.
time. Oh, definitely. When you look inside the book, she has done a great job on the table of contents, and each chapter couldn't be simpler. Chapter 1, stress. Tell us about that.
So, stress has been with us since the beginning of time, and it continues to just grow within our communities, within our culture, our country, as well as within the world. I think the American Psychological Association said 8 in 10 individuals experience stress. There's some points in the book where I discuss primary care offices and providers and how they're dealing with individuals with stress along with their medical appointments.
Yeah.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah, I've heard somewhere recently, and I don't know, Tonya, if they're starting this, but something about when people go to their primary care doctor, that they're thinking of having the help, the counseling and all, being referred to that, maybe in the same building or wherever close by, but the doctors are starting to realize that perhaps I could refer.
Sure.
Do you think that's good?
I think it's very good, and they sometimes call that a warm handoff. So years ago, this is about maybe over 10 years ago, a primary care provider that I knew in Rhode Island had asked me if I would set up part of my office in his primary care practice, because a lot of the individuals were right there, and some in Rhode Island don't like to travel much, and so it would make it easier. So I would get a warm handoff, and if somebody needed to be seen right there and then, I could see them.
I think that's fantastic, really. I mean, it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it really does. So the first chapter is on stress. I know that there's generalized anxiety disorder, right? Panic disorder, PTSD.
Correct.
I would think, over the years recently, it's been probably quite up there. I've heard that over the last few years that a lot of the teenagers, young people have been suffering from the anxiety. Is that true?
It is, and I think what's happened too with the pandemic that we've experienced is a lot of individuals, including students and younger children, are isolated more. The socialization piece isn't there as it was maybe with our generation, so it's becoming more and more difficult for them. And also coping can be difficult as well.
Yeah, I heard that with the combination of the COVID being, and I think it's very frightening for them. I can't think back right when we were kids and we were in school. This would be foreign to us. They always encourage you to get out, socialize, and the one thing that you couldn't do, especially during the beginning of COVID, was to do that.
Sure. And
it can be scary.
Very scary. And it's just new territory that none of us have ever been involved in. So.
Next chapter is terror. Well, what's that all about?
So terror can come in different forms, domestic terror. individuals could have terror in their own homes.
Mhm.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Domestic violence, yes.
So it's important to just really be mindful of individuals and what they may be experiencing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not aware of what something that's going on in somebody's home, but there are 1-800 numbers and help 24/7 for individuals.
So Tonya, you see patients in Providence or
Yes.
Barrington.
It's East Providence.
East Providence.
Yes.
I used to have a friend that lived in East Providence. They moved away long ago. I think they're in Missouri now, but whatever. But I remember living in Providence, and I was fascinated with the RISD, Rhode Island School of Design area.
Sure. That's
Went to a
in
couple
Providence.
classes up there.
Yes.
I love that part of Providence. Is it the college type
It's
of-
right near. So East Providence is a little further,
Yeah.
but right off the highway.
Mhm.
I actually share my space. I have a nice office space there with a plumbing company, Wagner Plumbing, and it's nice because they're actually, it's just a nice space, and it's quiet, and it's really nice, good parking and things like that.
How
to
long
make
have
it
you been
easy.
doing the social work?
So 20 years as
Wow.
a clinician. Yeah, 20 years as a clinician.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I worked in psychiatric research at Brown University. So I had some good training, and that sort of led me to social work for graduate school.
Did you know when you left high school that this is what you wanted to do?
No, I did not.
What did you want to do?
I wanted to be a dancer.
A dancer. So when you what did you do after high school?
So after high school, I went on to college,
Mhm.
and I was in the dance company in college. I went locally at Rhode Island College.
Yeah.
And part of that, I wanted to study dance, and I had some friends in New York that were also dancers.
Yeah.
So I wanted to audition there for the Rockettes, and
Did you?
I did audition, but I didn't make it. And
Oh.
from there, I continued to teach dance
Yeah.
through the years, actually all through college. And when I went to graduate school in Boston, I taught dance at some local schools.
Wow.
Which helped pay, my way through college. And
So you had 4 years studying dance?
so I had 4 years studying dance, but my undergrad was a dual degree. It was sociology and dance. I
Wow.
wanted to do dance therapy
Yeah.
at that point.
Dance therapy.
Dance therapy
Do you
was...
do it now?
So I don't, in some ways, I don't do dance within my practice, but I do discuss things like mindful meditation, yoga,
Yeah.
movement. So I don't specifically do dance therapy, but it was actually a dancer from New York at the time who said, you don't necessarily need to do, a degree in dance therapy
Yeah,
in
yeah.
order to do that. And,
Yeah.
and that sort of opened up my mind to other fields. And it was actually at Brown University that I then decided to go into the field of social work.
Yeah.
I loved research, and I was a research assistant there on psychiatric studies. But there was a component missing because I could only just gather the information from individuals, but not really have a conversation with them. So,
If anybody is watching and interested, how long does it take to get your degree in social work?
so my undergrad was not in social work, and then a master's degree after your undergrad is 2 years.
Oh.
But then once you complete the 2 years of graduate school, you have to go on for several years of studying under somebody clinically.
Wow.
To
I
do,
had no idea it took that long.
Yeah, it takes
That's
a
why you gotta
while.
really want to do it. You did.
I
We're
did.
talking with Tonya Maselli, and she is a licensed social worker, and she wrote this book, great book, Disruptors of Harmony. Tonya, how can they get a hold of your book?
You can reach my book on my website at disruptorsofharmony.com or tonyamaselli.com. Also Barnes & Noble or amazon.com, and Stillwater Publishing as well.
Yeah, still want to shout out to Steve Porter and Don. They were your publishers, and they're great. They're really terrific. Next chapter, Deceit. Oh boy, and I went through that in my family, and I went after that for 4 years in court. I wasn't going to put up with it. What made you think of deceit?
I just think that individuals experience different things in life,
Mhm.
and deceit can come in different forms. And we've all, I mean, I think one of the things I say within the book is that none of us are exempt from any of this.
Yeah.
And I think it's hurtful when we discover that somebody's been deceitful.
Mhm.
But it again can come in different forms, some not as bad as others, but when court's involved or other pieces, it can be really difficult. Very
Anger.
difficult. Anger.
Some people say, well, if something like that happened to them, wouldn't they be, oh my God, and so hurt? I went, no, I personally have the opposite reaction. I'm angry because I want to protect the people the person is basically doing this to.
Sure.
I'll be fine.
Sure.
I'm just angry. So that motivated me to go forward so that I didn't go into some kind of a depression or anything.
Sure.
That was not,
Sure.
absolutely, I don't remember feeling that at all. Just go get them. Let's, get this
Right.
taken care of. Imbalance, I learned about breathing. And for the longest time, I guess a lot of us, we just breathe off the top, right, Tonya?
Correct.
I had to learn, stop that. Relax your tummy and breathe from your tummy.
Mm-hmm. So breathing, and I think yoga and things like that teach some of that, to breathe through our stomachs, and that can help as well.
Yeah. Imbalance, though, how do people get right again?
So I think imbalance can be in different forms too within our lives, as far as emotional imbalance and things like that. I think mindful meditation can help
Yeah.
with imbalance.
I heard somewhere that people think worrying gives them more control over the outcome. Or what is that all about?
So worry can take over, as well as anxieties and things like that, and can really throw our balance off. When we are doing certain things, sometimes I ask individuals, clients, when you're doing something, try to just do one thing in the moment, because our minds can get away from us.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're walking, just try to walk.
Yep.
Try not to really, think about maybe your groceries and what you need to buy and the list that goes through your mind. And I think that can help put us back into balance a bit, to be more in the present moment.
Being in the moment, it's not always easy.
It's not easy.
Especially if you think, okay, you're going to bed and you're thinking, oh, this is going to happen tomorrow, this and that.
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to train myself to do through the years is, there's something I really don't want to do, like maybe have a medical procedure or something like that, or the dentist. He could be working on my teeth, but I'm thinking, where am I going after this? Something to look forward to.
Sure.
And I just focus on that in my mind.
That's so.
Or he'll crack a joke, something like that. But I found that that's very helpful. What have you got? Long and long ago, and it was in Providence, I knew a woman who was a counselor, and she said to me, I was worried about surgery coming up. And she says, yeah, but what's going to happen after that? She was teaching me, that's not the end-all, be-all.
Sure.
What have you got to look forward to over that? Once you get over that,
Right.
worked like a charm.
Yes.
It really, really did. Again, conformity. What do you think?
Conformity can be difficult because we're taught often from when we're children to conform,
Yeah.
to do what we're told, to listen to our elders and teachers and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes through life, if we just conform and don't stand up and speak up, that it does a disservice, I think, to
Right.
ourselves and others.
Yeah.
So I think we have to balance that as well.
Yeah, I think it's like what do they call it? Social anxiety. Somebody could be so worried about the impression they're making on the other person or what that other person's thinking that they forget that probably that person isn't thinking that at all, and maybe they're just fine, and it's nothing to do with you. Taking on someone else's baggage.
Correct.
I had to learn that one a long time ago. But that's their problem, and I don't have to take it inward.
Sure.
That's something too. Is taking on there are people who are too empathic, right, Tonya?
So I think yes, and you hate to say that somebody that's empathic is then doing something wrong.
No.
But when it's wonderful to give back,
Yeah.
but within that you also have to have balance. You can't always take on other people's struggles and try to do what you can to help, but then ultimately they need to also help themselves as well.
I think that in my upbringing, my mother was extremely intuitive, and I would say empathic, and which was great for me as her child, because she was a great mother. Oh my God, she was terrific. She would I had a radio program in another town, a city, and I was broadcasting, and she and Dad were listening. And she knew I was sick because my voice went down, and she said, "There's something wrong with Jan." And there's nothing like being on the radio when you're going to have to get sick. You've got an audience. So that was FM, so I raced to the AM station guy. I said, "What do you do when you're going to throw up?" He said, "Go." So I went, and I said, "Can you watch it?" He said, "Yeah, I can," he said. So that was scary. It really, really was. But my mother knew intuitively something was wrong in my voice. There you go.
Great mom.
Yeah, she
I was lucky.
She was. That's what I would have done without her. God. Hardship, oh boy. Especially with the rents being so high.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I think hardship too, it can come in so many forms, and economic hardship is really a difficulty for individuals with rents and homes, and especially young families, children. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and even if someone's on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, which I'm in favor of all of them, but it's not enough.
Sure.
For your rent.
Sure.
That's what's puzzling to me now. And I guess there's long listings for people waiting to get into subsidized. They could take years.
It's concerning.
What do people do?
It's concerning. And I think within communities, it can be helpful to really reach out. And sometimes I think people are so proud that they feel uncomfortable sometimes reaching out to within the community. And is there for all of us when we need it. And there's nothing to be ashamed about for that. I think towns, sometimes through town halls, you can find out what information is available in each individual town. I know if there are, especially in Massachusetts, if there are veterans, each town has a veteran rep, which is willing to help them to be sure that they get their needs met. Senior citizens may have senior centers that they can obtain, resources from. And then community centers and religious affiliations and things like that as well, I think, can be helpful.
Food pantries.
Correct.
Food pantries.
Correct.
One time, I know someone was at the food pantry, and she told me what happened, that they were kind of hard on their luck, and they went in, and, it's no shame, for heaven's sakes. We all have to eat. So she went in, and she noticed on the cans that they were outdated.
Oh.
And so she went to the lady that was sitting at the entrance table or the exit to say, go big, look at your. She said, for safety, these are outdated. And the volunteer said to her, "Beggars can't be choosers."
Oh.
I got on that. I got right on that. I contacted I think all the local churches about this. I think I called the priest of that church. I said, this can't happen. No. They deserve updated food too. You can't do that.
It's terrible.
Yeah, a can that's a year or two old, a can? No. If you're going to donate to the food pantry, get smart and look at the expiration date, because you could cause someone to be very sick.
Absolutely.
Children and everybody. We're talking with Tonya Maselli, and she has written a great book called Disruptors of Harmony. Again, how can they get it, Tonya?
They can go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's also at Barrington Books in Rhode Island, as well as Stillwater Publishing, and my website, which is DisruptorsOfHarmony.com.
This is so cool. I used to live in Providence, so when I saw that she was coming from Providence, boy, does that bring back memories. Did you go 146?
I did.
Okay. It's pretty easy. Did you get off in Uxbridge?
I did.
You did the way
Yes.
I said? Yeah. That's
Thank you for the directions.
You're very welcome. I used to go, when I moved up here to Whitensville years ago, I was going down to see somebody. I would get all the way back to Providence, back and forth, and it was about 40 minutes. It wasn't too bad. It could have been worse.
Sure.
Tonya, what now? Chaos. A lot of families, a lot of people go through that, especially if there's somebody going through an addiction issue, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And chaos can just be our environment, too. Sometimes it's really important to just make your bed every morning. And I know that sounds strange, but it can just set the tone for the day. And I think for chaos, our environment, trying not to have it overwhelming in some way, and But chaos can come in different forms as well. When it comes to addictions, that's more than just chaos, but it can be chaotic for the family, for the individual.
Hoarding?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's funny, I watched that show on television, and I am amazed how somebody can live in things from floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
And older people who might need an ambulance, they're walking up and down over things. Do you see many hoarders as patients?
I do not at my practice. I do not, because I find too that while I do see individuals for anxiety disorders and things like that, and sometimes obsessive compulsive disorders, hoarding is a difficult disorder, I think, to treat, because you almost have to be in the environment, because what the individual reports is sometimes difficult, and you don't necessarily see that. What I think for some individuals that I've treated in the past that have discussed maybe having some hoarding tendencies is to just really start with a small space, like even just your table, like your kitchen table, and have that cleared so that it doesn't become so overwhelming. Because I think when an individual who hoards really looks around their environment, it's overwhelming.
I think also that they said that people who tend to hoard have had a very traumatic loss just before it, so that could be it too, right?
That could be it too.
Oh,
Yeah, and sometimes I think as people age, they hold on to items that then letting go of can mean they're letting go of their life in their past, which can be difficult.
Maybe I should start making my bed. That's the last thing I
That
think
doesn't
about.
make you a hoarder.
Oh my God! I mean, I think I got swell when I would go to school. My mother was just glad probably to get me off to school. I would go home, and I think it would have made the bed. It was no big deal to her, and that was always nice to come home to. But sometimes, you wrestle with sheets and blankets. You're like, you can't get it all straight and everything.
True.
Oh boy, I know about that one. Tonya, now self-esteem. Boy, is that a biggie? What do you think?
It's a big one. It's a big one that I think we've all wrestled with through our lives from childhood on, and sometimes our self-esteem and our self-confidence really is established when we're younger, and then it grows and it could change. Things affect it. Our school circumstances, relationships, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's a work in progress, I think, for many of us. So just to keep chipping away at it.
When you're growing up, your parents, were they tearing you down or helping to build you up? Was it okay to think other things, or did you want to try other things? I got lucky, especially with my mother, because she said, if you have a bee in your bonnet, go do it. She knew I would just be suffering if I didn't do it.
That's right.
But when I decided to leave college, my father, on the other hand, was not a happy camper. I thought I was doing him a favor. Here, you don't have to pay for it anymore. I've had it for 2 years. He made it clear, when you come home, you are going to either go to business school, you can go to beauty school, whatever you want to do, but you're going to do something. I think Mom would have take a year off, think about it. You've got a right to do that. You don't have. I shouldn't have jumped in the first place into college, but all the other kids were doing it. Gosh, I think that's a pressure that a lot of kids feel like, well, everybody else is doing it.
Absolutely. And I think, too, like you said, maybe for your mom, she was a little easygoing. And I think sometimes the beauty of that, I think within my family, too, my parents are very supportive, always have been.
Yeah.
I have my brother, he's very positive. He's always with positive affirmations and things like that. And I think that can strengthen all of us as we, use those. I've been a firm believer in positive affirmations too, which helps build our self-esteem and self-confidence.
Having a best friend,
absolutely,
that helps too. I was lucky to have one from 8 years old to sophomore in high school that we grew apart, which is sad.
That's
I just
hard.
went to I forgot what it was, a high school reunion, and I saw her, and I'm like, oh my God, if I hadn't recognized the hairdo still, but she was all humped over. She had something wrong with the spine. I just felt for her so badly. I'm like, what happened, girl?
That's hard. I'm very fortunate. So my best friend, Terry, from the 3rd grade is still my friend.
Oh.
And some of my other friends, my girlfriend, Desi, from high school, and we continue to get together. We try to get together at least once a month,
Yeah.
and we've done that through the years.
But that's
And
unusual.
it's hard, but we still do it. We talk all the time, things like that. Yeah.
Boy, are you lucky.
I am.
Oh, I would have
know
loved
I
to
am.
stay in touch with her, but I don't think it was meant to be.
No,
You know?
it depends on the circumstances and if it's meant to be, I think.
You can also, if you come over up to the library, you can also pick up a copy. They're going to have it on the dedicated local authors section. Come on in and read Disruptors of Harmony by our friend Tonya Maselli. And we'll go through just a couple more. Greed.
Greed.
I see that a lot. Ooh.
Yeah, so I think it's important that we all work hard and achieve and, be financially stable, but then, when greed comes in, it just takes over for some people.
Envy and jealousy.
Correct.
Gosh,
Correct.
all those things. We could talk for hours, but this book is absolutely fantastic. It's so timely. Disruptors of Harmony. Things that we all go through, the stress and all these other things, especially nowadays. I mean, it's going on 2 years with that COVID thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's an awful lot. Tonya, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Is there another book on the horizon?
I am actually thinking about a Disruptors of Harmony too.
Oh, good.
And I would like to do it from probably the pandemic piece forward and see where that brings us. So.
Oh, good. Well, this is a
Thank
good
you.
launching then. That
Thank
would be
you.
really great.
Thank
Let
you.
me know.
I will.
Okay. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having
We'll
me.
see you next time. Would be my guest.
Thank you.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.